I looked at my watch. An hour had passed. Are we nearly there? I asked. We'd just turned into a hilly, steep street to find it blocked by a barricade of trash, wood, and two upside-down shopping trolleys. Around us flowed a mass of young people in homemade riot gear. It looked as if it was a reunion party for the 1970s band Village People. It was the third such do-it-yourself barricade to hinder our progress in the last 10 minutes. "Fucking idiots," said the taxi driver. He didn't seem to be abreast of any of this. He crunched the gear stick into reverse, turned around, and tried to steer us back to the road we'd just come from. "What are they protesting about?" I asked. "Protesting, yes," he said, his reversing manoeuvre complete. He scowled at two women carrying a large gay pride flag. "Fucking nutters." He didn't seem like a very nice man, the taxi driver. The few English words he had mustered during the journey had been spat aggressively in my direction. Turkish words, I suspect, of an adult nature, went the other direction, out of the driver's side window and into the faces of pedestrians, other drivers, and any inanimate objects brazen enough to be in their way. He seemed to find inanimate objects particularly irksome. "These people don't look like nutters," I said. "Nutters they are, yes." I wanted to debate this further, but I held back, mostly because he was driving as if we were in a go-kart and he'd eaten a special mushroom, giving him infinite lives. I looked out the windscreen at a group of protesters, their face paint, dyed hair, ripped jeans, and multicoloured vests. I was pretty sure they were not nutters and were even probably the good guys. Protesters are always the good guys, right? Because protesting takes way more effort than not. For example, a prerequisite of a protester is outrage. A non-protester, none. Protester, effort required, high. Non-protester, none. If you're a protester, signage required, lots. Non-protester, none. A protester, their odds of success, low. A non-protester, certain. If people can be bothered to organise a demonstration, write songs, paint signs, and march through the streets, holding these signs and singing their songs, outraged, you can be pretty sure they'll have a valid point. On the rare occasion they don't have a valid point, there were likely to be an even bigger protest against them. I mean, you don't see people who are doing bad things out chanting, "What do we want? More tyranny. When do we want it?" Well, that's up to us, really. You don't see these people protesting because they've already won. The taxi driver pulled into yet another side street, and we were confronted by yet another homemade barricade. And the driver said, "Fuck. Did you know anything about this?" I asked Annette, the trip's instigator. She looked at me, tutted, sighed, frowned, and rolled her eyes all at once. When it came to communication, she was a quantity person, cruelly stuck in a quality world. She took a breath to compose herself. About the protests? You betcha. I knew. It was in the news. But I didn't know it was this big, or that we were anywhere near it, or in it, which it kinda seems like we are now. She looked around. We're in it, right? She twitched her nose. We were in it. I had made the mistake of sitting in the front of the taxi, a rare lapse of personal initiative that meant I was now responsible for liaising with the taxi driver. I hated responsibility. I hated problem solving. I hated all this. I wanted to be back home on my couch, ignoring all of life's problems while eating biscuits. The next street the driver tried had a somewhat familiar feel to it. I think perhaps because it was the third time he tried it. I got out my phone, called Ada, and passed the phone to the driver. 10 minutes later, and 5 floors higher, we found ourselves standing in front of a pink door. The door opened, and a short girl in big, fluffy slippers wrapped me in a warm hug. The sort of hug that suggested a far deeper friendship than the simple apartment for money economic exchange that was actually occurring. Ada. I wasn't sure you would come. Were you not scared? Annette and I exchanged a blank look, said we'd have been perfectly willing to be scared if only someone had told us what about. Scared about the protests? Annette asked as she stepped into the apartment's hallway. We have a lot of protests in Berlin as well. Really? Said Ada, leading us past her small green tiled kitchen. This one is quite violent. The police are behaving like animals. You should be careful. We won't get involved, I assured her. as we arrived in the living room. We're just here for tourist stuff. We spread out on the living room's giant navy corner couch. I began to relax. This was better. This was like home, even, only with a little more rainbow iconography. What is the protest about? I asked, as Ada poured tea from a shiny red teapot. That's complicated, she said. Specific things, and also general things. I think mostly the feeling that Erdogan is trying to make the country into an Islamic state like Saudi Arabia. They even tried to ban kissing in public. She handed us our cups. You know about Erdogan, right? Yes, of course, I lied. I knew he existed. Was that enough? Ada was in her late 20s. She had short hair, shaved completely on one side. Each ear was pierced 6 times, and her neck was branded with a tattoo of a goldfish. Even when saying nothing, she screamed counterculture. When her apartment was rented, she would stay with her girlfriend, a chef who owned a restaurant nearby. She would fit into an Islamic state about as well as I would an Italian nunnery. I could see why she was protesting. She had a lot to lose. Her phone beeped. Oh shit, I have to go, she said, cruelly orphaning the remainder of her tea. I've been sleeping in Gizzy Park with friends. There are developments there. There was an ominousness to the way she said the word developments. Come by later, if you like. We made noises that emphasized the possibility of this, while simultaneously hinting at its underlying impossibility. Ada left, her face noticeably whiter, and when we arrived, we celebrated our newfound aloneness by placing more of her limbs on her sofa. It was comfortable, which was how I liked it. A short time later, there was a really loud banging noise from outside, like the early, enthusiastic thrashings of a drummer without rhythm. The sound got louder and louder the closer we got to the balcony. From that viewpoint, we had a stunning vista sweeping down the hillside. You could see at least 100 balconies from this vantage point, and people emerging onto them to hit saucepans with wooden spoons, a kind of kitchenware cacophony. a kitchenware orchestra. It was a remarkable spectacle, simple, effective, lo-fi descent. A Mexican saucepan wave. In the flat diagonally underneath Ada's, a small girl of no more than 5 came outside and with a spatula. Her mother bent over to hold a saucepan at the right height so she could swipe enthusiastically at it. Occasionally, she even hit it. It was utterly endearing and adorable. Should we join in? I asked Annette. I don't know, she said. We don't really know what they're banging for. I didn't want to tell Annette about my protesters are always right theory, because she'd been known to argue using facts. Well, I came from a more of a anecdotal background. We didn't join in, but we did watch with great delight and awe, and a light peppering of adjectives. Later, we learned this was a traditional form of protest in Turkey, and it always takes place at 9 p.m, the time Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was said to have founded the Republic of Turkey in 1923. Finally, bereft of entertainment and hungry, we headed out. Should we check out the park? And I asked. The developments. I scratched at my beard. That sounds pretty intense. Do you want to? Yeah, she said. It's the most interesting option we have right now. I left my beard and started to scratch my neck. I think I mostly want to have dinner. She shrugged. I can live with that, I guess. Or I'm willing to try anyway. So shall we wander down the back streets and then find somewhere quiet where we can sit outside? It was clear from the first few minutes of that walk just how much of life in Istanbul happens on its streets. Kids play football, hitting parked cars and running away as their angry owners appeal, shaking their fists. Elderly people pass buckets on ropes down from high apartment windows to more sprightly neighbours to fill them with vegetables and fruits. People ride their mopeds up to the entrances of restaurants, and a second later are air-kissing friends' cheeks and taking puffs of shisha. I guess there's a relaxedness here in summer that comes from knowing tomorrow is going to be warm. The day after that, looking pretty good as well. We navigated some quiet back streets using the popular tourist method. Which street looks prettiest? After turning a corner and spotting in the distance a promising little cafe with blue mosaic tabletops, I felt a burning sensation in my throat. "What's that smell?" I asked through a cough. Suddenly, a group of protesters ran around the bend, one pausing briefly to splash his face with some kind of milk-like substance. We backed into a door frame to let them pass. 4 policemen in riot gear chased them. We were pinned against the wall. A policeman threw a hissing canister towards the protesters. Tear gas. It landed a few meters to our right, bouncing off a wall. The police passed us, moving uneasily, with their chunky gear, shields, and gas masks. The cloud of gas spread quickly, taking just a few seconds to catch within our throats, setting them alight. Adrenaline surged through us. "Go! Move! Where? Who cares? Now! Go!" We ran away from the protesters and police officers. At the next corner was another small cluster of the police. A protester in the distance threw a rock at them, and so by extension at us. Not that way then. We turned and ran, which is quite difficult when trying not to breathe. On our left we saw a courtyard with its gate open, and it pointed, and we dashed inside, slamming the door behind us. It was a courtyard shared by 3 buildings. We collapsed, coughing and spluttering, against the iron railings. At its rear, I viewed the world through the tiny blood slits that were my eyes. Oh God, this is horrible.